Hi you guys, welcome to A Creatively Crafted Life. My name is Melanie, and I know you probably thought that Croptoberfest was over. And you know, sadly the event itself is, but that doesn't mean we can't keep the momentum going. And I did promise in one of my videos that I would show you guys how to use this book instead of using it as an album. I don't know about you, but this, you know, this is great if maybe as a gift or, you know, something that you don't really want to keep around for a long period of time. But if you do want something a little bit more robust, I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. The first thing I do when I repurpose something, which is effectively what we're going to be doing here, is we're repurposing this, right? Using it for a purpose other than it was originally intended, is I like to just kind of have an overall look through the product and just kind of think about what jumps out at me and what I like and what I'm kind of about. So right off the bat, I love this front cover. I think it's really pretty. This is okay, not really a whole lot to speak for it. This is a little bit more interesting, again, because of the flower, so that has promise. This one, it's just really basic, right? But this one, with the band right across the top, is really pretty. So I think I can work with that. And again, we go back to basic and we're at the end of the album. So it actually works out really well because when we tear this apart, we only get to use one side of the page. So I'm looking at this side. I don't care about this side. And then I like both of these sheets, so that's good. Don't care about the back side. And I like these both. Don't care about the back side. And then I'm left with this, which I'm not sure if I will use or not use. So the first thing I'm going to do is just take out the staples. You could probably just trim this apart if you want to, but I just want to keep my options open. So I will be removing the staples with a really high-tech pokey tool. I probably have a staple remover somewhere, but to be honest, it's not right next to me and I'm not going to go look for it, not for something like this. Okay, so start with the cover sheet, and I am going to cut this in half because even if I were to use both pieces, you could always find something to cover this up. But because of the way this is oriented, I would automatically want it to be on a left-handed side probably of a two-page spread, or it would be on the right hand. Yeah, I'd probably want it on the left-hand side. What I'm going to do next is trim off this seam. And so we're just gonna line that up at 8 inches. Looks like will work. Trim that down. And we now have a piece of roughly 8 by 8, actually not so roughly, it's actually pretty close, 8 by 8 piece of pattern paper. We're going to take the other one and we are going to do the same thing, only this time we're flipping it around. And we're just going to trim out that spine. So now we could use something along this line, or we can flip it upside down, put it on this side. Something like that. We'll have to play with this. But this would be a two-page layout possibly, or we could combine this to make it a bigger piece, right? That looks kind of cool actually. And then just a nice photo here, maybe. I'm just going to keep these together so I know that I'm intending to use them together. Okay, so I'm going to go through the rest of these and do exactly the same thing. Trim them out at 8 inches, cutting them into separate squares, and then aligning the ones that I want together. So like this one is going to go with this one. Okay, so I have my 3 piles. I've got the 2 sheets with the sunflowers across the top, the 2 with the sunflower on the right, and then the cover sheet. So basically we can make 3 two-page spreads or variations thereof. I've also pulled out some cardstock. So this is the cardstock pack that we were selling with the Croptoberfest. It includes Autumn Hay Shimmer Cardstock, Bronze Shimmer Cardstock, goldenrod cardstock, hot fudge cardstock, and burnt orange. Obviously you can use whatever's in your stash, but seeing as I have this and it coordinates so beautifully, I will be using these for my bases, I'm thinking. And I'm probably not going to use the shimmer cardstock as part of my base, so I'm just going to pull that out to the side. So now we're left with the chocolate, the hot fudge, the rusty color, and the yellow. So let's see which ones we like with which. Don't mind that. I don't want to put this with the rest. So it's either going to be the yellow or the brown. And to be honest, the yellow is super bright. More than I would normally go with. And I do like this. But I'm thinking, well, let's just see what the other ones look like before we make a decision. So we could do this one. Or we could go with this one. And I think I kind of like the yellow with this one. So I think we're going to do these with the yellow. But the question is, do we like these with the... Yeah, and I do. I don't mind that with the rest. So that makes it easy, and this is going to go with the brown. Okay, so I think I'm just going to make a single page layout for this one. I'm going to use one sheet of the brown, and I am going to cut this apart and layer it so that we get that kind of a border on either side. I really like that. I think that looks quite striking. I did pull out the shimmer cardstock because I think this would look really good as a matte, and just to kind of break up some of this, some of the darkness of the chocolate color. So the first thing I'm going to do, I think, is just trim this down and matte it on the shimmer, and then I will come back and show you what else I came up with. Okay, so this is what the page is looking like so far. The seam is not terribly noticeable, but I notice it, so it's going to bother me. So I was thinking it might be a good opportunity to use some ribbon. I had this pack of ribbon sitting in my fall stuff. I think this was from an old Gina K kit way back in the day, and it just so happens that the colors go pretty much perfectly with this paper collection. I think I like the chocolate one with the grosgrain the best, so I think that's what I'm going to opt to go with. And I think rather than line it up with the edge of where that seam is, I'm going to just drop it a little bit, and I'm going to wrap it behind, and I think I'm going to put this whole layer up on foam. I don't normally do that with big mats, but this is going to be a pretty simplistic page, so I think that might be kind of fun. Of course, I say that now, and watch, I'll end up putting so much stuff on here you guys will be like, what happened to your simplistic page, Melanie? Because, you know, I don't know when to stop. I pulled out some fun foam, and I'm just going to glue that to the back here. I think 2 sheets should do the trick. And I'm going to apply this with some liquid glue. I think that will work. We're going to adhere that to the cardstock, and I'm going to move it off center slightly so that we only have maybe about 1 inch on this side and a bigger margin on this side. Okay, so that is glued down. I really do not like this glue. I'm sure it has its place, and some people may like the slip that's involved with this. Like it's very wet, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's very wet glue, and I think you have to use it very sparingly, and I'm not really good at that, especially with the tip on there, and so it does cause a little bit of warping, which I'm not thrilled about. Okay, so I have a couple pieces of the dimensional ephemera pieces left over, and I thought this would be kind of fun to add maybe down here in the corner. Yeah, I'm thinking right about there, and maybe this one up here, maybe somewhere like that. And some wood veneer leaves, maybe we can tuck these in, something to this effect here, and something like that. And basically you've got enough room for a title, you've got a space for a photo. I will probably move this up maybe a little bit more, just to allow for a full 4x6 photo. And I think that's all I'm going to do with this page. Now, there were, in the sticker sheets, I still had this sticker left over. This one that says together. You could do that underneath here, fall memories together. There's already some purple here, but there's absolutely no purple up here, so I'd be afraid that that would be a little bit off balance. So I think I'm going to leave that out and just keep it simple. So let me glue these down. You all know me by now, right? I can't leave well enough alone. So I got to add a little bit more. I just do. It's just the way I am. I'm thinking, because I really don't like the way these leaves turned out, so I'm thinking if I add maybe a little flower there and another one up here, tuck this one in here. I think I like that a little better. Let's call that one done. And let's move on to the next one. Okay, for this one I am thinking a double page spread, and this is going to span across the middle here. But I'm thinking we need to make this a little bit longer, and maybe we can use some of the bronze shimmer paper to flank either side, or maybe add an additional mat. I think that would look kind of cool, so maybe trim this off. Here, let me try to do this a little better so we can get a visual. This isn't much contrast, so I don't know if I like that. How about if we pull in some white cardstock instead? Let me go do that. So I'm thinking multi-layered here. So this is roughly 8 by 8. So let me trim this to 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. And then we're going to trim this by 8 3/4 by 8 3/4. And I've got 2 sheets of each, so I have enough to make the mats. If I was doing a single page instead of a double, obviously I could mat this perfectly centered in the squares. You have something that looks like that, and then you could in turn mat it on here. I think that looks really sharp, but I am doing a double page spread, and so what I'm going to want to do is have this a line in the middle so that it looks like one continuous sheet. And what it does mean, because I cut this square, is that I am going to end up with a slightly wider border on this side relative to the top and bottom, but I don't mind that because I want this to appear longer to fill up some of this space, because this is disproportionate to this. Does that make sense? I hope so. So this is just going to go on like so, and we're going to repeat on the other side. So we're starting to build a little bit more presence for this. Now there's a few things that you could do. Obviously you could add more paper if you had. I don't have any more that I want to incorporate in this, and I kind of like this simplistic look, but I do want to jazz up the background a little bit. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my scoreboard. Okay, I hope you can see this. I scored in a pattern. So basically I went 1/2 inch across one side, flipped it around. I did 1/2 quarter, 1/2 quarter, 1/2 quarter all the way around. This is the debossed side, and this is the embossed side, and I think I kind of like the embossed side better, so we're going to flip this over. Now, did I do this perfectly? No, I made a few mistakes, and you know what, it just doesn't matter because it's so subtle, and by the time you add all the other layers on it, you're not even going to notice where I went off the track. Let me get these affixed as I mentioned earlier, and I will come back and show you what the next steps are. Okay, now that I've got my base page sorted out, we're going to add some embellishments. And I'm just pulling from scraps left over from Croptoberfest, you guys. Like, I'm not pulling out any new papers other than the cardstock I use for the bases, because I'm really just trying to use what I already have out on my desk. And so I thought it would be kind of fun to pull out this tag where it says fall is calling, and it's got the pumpkins and stuff. It's not the exact same purple, but it kind of has a purpley color wagon. And I'm thinking that might look kind of cool as a title, maybe on this side. To balance that out, I had half a circle left. This was punched out using the doily punch. I can't remember the exact name of it, from Creative Memories. And so I thought, well, to balance that, let's maybe add something over on this side. So I'm liking that. But this is really overpowering, and so I thought, well, maybe I better counter it with another one on this side. So I punched out another one and cut it in half. So in other words, I could have just used a whole doily. And I'm thinking maybe we'll tuck it under on this side over here. Now that yellow's still really overpowering, so I looked through my scraps and I had some of the pumpkin paper left, but I'm thinking the green will help tone things down, and maybe we can slide that underneath here. I do want to see the tag, so I'm thinking this will probably come over top of the white layer so that I just have a little bit more room, and then maybe this will come up on top. And I'm not liking how this looks, so let's move this up like so. Which means that this probably is going to have to come down. Again, just trying to do that symmetrical kind of look. I have more of that scrap, so we would add that up here. Maybe something like that. And then I had this wagon. So again, playing off the idea of a wagon here. I'm not liking how this here is so harsh. So if you took the bonus class, I gave you some printables, and including those printables were some labels. And so I think we can probably make this work just to kind of tuck something in like that. We may have to position this around a little bit. What we do on this side, we're going to do on this side, only we're going to flip the orientation. Maybe do something along that lines. And then if you participated in the embellishment class, we made a couple of these little scalloped embellishments that I think are kind of cute and kind of fit the theme that I'm going with here of fall is calling. This one says change of season, and this one says outdoors. And I think maybe we can layer this some over here. I think I need to play around with this positioning a little bit more and maybe have this like that. So I'm still not loving this. So let me glue down what I know I like, and I will come back and show you where this ends up. Okay, so here's what the finished page looks like. I just smushed everything a little bit closer together. I've got plenty of space here for journaling either within the box or to continue down into the yellow. So I could have two different types of journaling. I could put a subtitle here and put my journaling here. So just a few options. I'm opting not to put any finishing touches like enamel dots or anything like that on there. When I go and use these pages, I can always make that determination. I just made sure for this fall that I didn't adhere anything on here, just in case I have photos going right up to the edge. And that, my friends, is layout number 2. So we could do another 2-page spread and affix this across the middle, very similar like we just did on the other one. But you know, we just did that. So I'm thinking we got to switch it up a little bit. What about if we went to a single page? Wondering if maybe we can align this going this way and have it span like that. Just may have to play with how these align, and I have to be okay with the seam. I might trim this a little bit more because it feels like I didn't quite get a clean edge, but I'm kind of liking that. I think that looks kind of fun, and I might just shift everything down. And we do have some scraps left over from the others, like the bronze. Maybe we can add that in here just to break up these yellows, because this is such a bright yellow and this is quite muted. Maybe that will help with that. There's a little bit of a border and maybe one at the top. It's a nice band. What do you think? I think that's looking pretty good. the seam still does kind of bother me a little bit. So let's play with that. We've got lots of room to figure out how to overlap this. Okay, so here's how I fixed it. You can most definitely see that there is a seam, but I did try to align this as closely as I could. I think by the time you add photos on here, you're not really going to see. So there's room for a 4x6 photo here. You could do a 4x6 photo if you wanted to go off the page. By that point, you really aren't going to see much. If you did a 4x4 photo, so pretend this is a 4x photo, you're just going to have a very tiny bit here and down here. So I think I'm okay with that. I like the way that looks. But I am going to do a border of this bronze, but I'm going to do a decorative border because, you know, we got to jazz this up a little bit. Okay, so I cut out this decorative border. Let's see, this is an old Stampin' Up! Punch way back in the day. I don't know if you can see that. It's like a pinked heart punch. So that's going to go up at the top. I just cut a 1 inch for down at the bottom. I'm just going to do something along the lines like that, just layer it up. And then I trimmed a 1/4 inch of this shimmer paper, and we're just going to cover the seam with this and this, and then it's just a matter of, do I put any additional embellishments on? Okay, let's talk about embellishments. You could just leave it as simple as this, and in the sticker sheet there was this one that says happiness, and I thought that might look kind of fun layered on top of this label. Probably something like that. And really, you guys, that's all you really need. But if you wanted to up it a little bit, pulled a few of the printables, and I thought maybe we could dress this up a little bit. So maybe add something like the sunflower here with the leaf. I don't really want to cover up all of the purple label though, because I think that's kind of cute. So maybe something like that. Maybe something like that. We've got another one here we could tuck in. For this one here, there's a couple things you could do. You could pull one of the layered stickers that we layered on another piece. Again, this was all in Croptoberfest, and you could affix it down here just to kind of add some layers. Or what might be kind of fun is treat that as a title, which says "So Many Blessings." And with the way this copper is, it doesn't stand out too much, but it gives at least a little bit more of a presence to the sticker. And then you could just take something simple like this bow. Again, this was a printable from the bonus class, and you could just affix it there with some foam dots. And really, that's about all you would need to do. Now, if you wanted to jazz this up a little bit more, we could take a label, just kind of layer it underneath. If you want to add another flower piece, we could move this around a little bit, maybe bring that up. And then maybe tuck something like, I think this is too busy, to be honest. I kind of like the simplicity of just this, or if you take another label and then affix that on top of it. I think that's what I would go with. So we've kind of got a triangle going on our title. If you wanted to add some journaling, of course, you're going to have plenty of room on the page to do some journaling. As I mentioned before, you'll have probably a 4x6 photo and a 4x4, so that will leave journaling down here. You can still opt to go up and over with this layout. If you wanted to do horizontal, you could. You may just want to watch your positioning there. I think I like the vertical better, which is probably what I'm going to do. And I think I like this configuration, so let me glue this down and I will come back and show you the final page. Okay, this is the final page. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Like I said, you can see the seam, but you're not going to see it by the time you get all your pictures and everything on it. I'm opting again to leave off enamel dots, finishing touches. That can be done when I have the photos placed. So that is how I took the little scrapbook album from Croptoberfest collection and turned them into layouts. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of repurposing the book. How do you think it turned out? Thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, happy crafting.